Welcome everybody to Relationship Fun and Games and Fights Clean Sex Dirty TV.
We're so glad that you can join us here tonight, and as you know, we go through each week, we alternate between how to keep the fights clean and the sex dirty. So, as you know, we also like to further categorize our content into before, as it starts, during, or after. Actually, Roger, you go ahead and change that slide so they can see that. So in any of our content, we do this so that you can find the tips that are most applicable in your relationship right now. Is it in the realm of having a fight? Is it in the realm of getting it on? And when is it? Because what you're going to do in the middle of a fight is very different than what you're going to do beforehand. So whenever you're coming for our tips, go ahead and look for these symbols here. And tonight we're going to talk about how to keep the fights clean after an argument, so you don't just move on, but you're actually moving forward. So, but before we get into the content, we want to introduce you to our amazing interviewees tonight.
Welcome, Kevin and Devona. It's so great to have you here tonight.
Yes.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you so much. We're so excited.
Absolutely. You guys are just such a delightful couple. You know, it just shows whether it's in a photograph or meeting you at a party, as we first did, in the work that you do. I wrote you a message the other day saying you really do model a playful, peaceful, passionate relationship. Even this picture that's on here, the first word that came to mind was cute. And then I thought, sometimes you don't like cute. Like, what is it about cute? It's playful. You guys have that playful quality.
I love it. Thank you.
You do. Now, for those of you listening today, if you don't know Kevin and Devona, they are high school sweethearts, and hopefully they'll share their story on how they came together. But they aren't just partners in love, they're partners in work as well, and that takes an extra level of skill.
As we know.
As we know. And to make sure that when an argument is over, you got to really heal it. Otherwise, you know, it's going to get in the way of your work, not just your relationship. And they've got this amazing company called Strive and Grind, which is branding services. And you guys can say a little bit more if I don't get the full gist of this, because I know it's really juicy what you guys do. But with entrepreneurs who really want to make a difference in the world, really bringing this depth-rich branding so that they can communicate their message and have a huge ripple effect. Anything? Did I miss some pieces there? Any color that you want to add to what it is you guys do at Strive and Grind so people get a sense of what you're up to?
Yeah, so a little bit about Strive and Grind. We are pretty much a boutique, full-service branding and creative agency, and we're all about creating brands with soul. And our dream is to enable entrepreneurship through branding and aesthetic design. So we're all about helping our customers and clients attract their dream customers and clients, build brand loyalty, separate themselves from the competition, and essentially make more money and make more revenue for their businesses. So that's a little bit about us in Strive and Grind. Devon, did you want to talk to a little bit of our backstory and how we met?
So we're
I love those stories of how you guys met or your motto. You know, I know we can see right here that you've been together for 10 years. Can you tell us a little bit about you getting together and something about your relationship so people get a sense of you?
Yeah, so Kevin and I, as it was on the slide, we've been together for 10 years. We were originally high school sweethearts, and we actually met on MySpace, technically. We lived in the same area. We went to separate high schools, but we had a lot of the same friends, saw each other around, and I was known as the girl with the sweet MySpace because I had a lot of graphic design skills. And Kevin would hit me up on there, and then we would chat all night long on AIM, and then it was like happily ever after.
Yeah.
We fell in love on AIM.
Huh?
We fell in love on AIM.
Exactly. Yeah.
I can dig it. Fell in love on AIM. Yeah. So yeah, that's a little bit about us, and we're all about being in life together. We're all about entrepreneurship and business, and what we really want to do is just inspire other young couples to really go after their dreams and build their empires together and just have fun. So that's a little bit about us.
Yeah.
How has that ride been for you? Did you have to do some navigating to be able to work together so closely, or was it just kind of seamless?
There's been a lot of navigating. And the funny thing is, we've been working together in business for about 3 years now, and it hasn't been since till maybe a few months ago where we've actually started to be able to work together in the best way possible. So it's definitely not the easiest thing, and I don't think it's for everybody. But I mean, if that's something you want to do, it's something that is a great experience if you can make it work. So that's something we're still working on, but it's definitely been a ride.
I think too, if you can work in business together and you can get through that, you can pretty much do anything.
Totally.
Truly believe that.
Yeah, I was telling Gabby the other day, it was our 10th anniversary of our first date yesterday.
Congrats.
Yes.
Thank you.
We had a little date, and I just said, well, our tools must work because we just keep getting closer and closer, and if we can work this close together and be getting closer as a couple, then we got to be doing something right. So.
Yeah, we actually, it was our anniversary, we created a relationship report card and scored our relationship in all these different areas.
Really fun.
It was really fun.
Aww,
Yeah.
That's so
awesome.
You're going to have to share that with us.
Yeah.
We will.
Yeah, emerging. So
just a little bit about the show format for our viewers. About 30 minutes in, so around 6:05, we'll let you know when the button underneath the video player on our website, that Join the Hangout button, that will go live. We'll ask you to refresh your browser window so that link becomes active. And you can click on that button and then join into the conversation with us here on the Hangout, actually, and ask questions of Gabby and I or Kevin and Devana. And we'd love to see you in the Hangout. And if you do join in the Hangout, we have a special gift for you. It's our 2-page cheat sheet where we look at how to keep the fights clean and the sex dirty. So,
yeah, it's all of our top tips condensed into 2 pages. Fights clean on one side, sex dirty on the other. In fact, I was telling Raj, we need to make this into a bookmark or something. We can just fold it up, put it on our wallet or something.
It's there when you need it.
We really believe in the structures and the tools, the physical things that live outside of you to remind you of who you say you want to be in your relationship.
Great. So shall we dive in?
Yes, yes, yes. I love this sentence here describing. I just want to read it out loud. I know everyone can read it there, but their relationship is based on partnership and playing together to make life, this is my favorite part here, ridiculously enjoyable for themselves as well as others. Yes, because we strive and grind. There's this about being successful and about making it, but often that would be like this weight or burden for many people, but you bring such a quality of lightness and play to it. It's like, yeah, it's striving and grinding, not like strive and grind.
Yeah.
The complete opposite.
There are those days, but
Yes.
there's more greater days, brighter days with it. And
Yes,
it's
yes,
always
yes.
fun too because we get to encourage other people to stay strive and grind, and we're striving and grinding. So now, like, a lot of our friends and people in our circle, like, will text us or write statuses, or even in their email marketing, they'll say, "Keep striving and grinding," or "We're striving and grinding."
That's
So
great.
it's pretty
You're
cool.
creating a little meme out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's similar to our work. And
We
I
like
say
to call
the
it
word
play.
work is relationship fun and games by nature brings play to this thing called work. And it can be challenging at times, but holding that frame of playfulness and working through things, it's that shift on the strive and grind. It's not strive and grind.
Not to mention the humor and the lightness can really add us some of those more intense interactions, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for being here today. So for those of you listening or watching, we're going to go ahead and dive into our topic for tonight. And tonight's topic, as we shared, is how to keep the fights clean after. And you can see from this image, I wanted to give this feeling of moving forward, because so often in an argument, couples, they just want to put it behind them, like, oh, just get off my back, or is it over yet? And that's very tempting. You want to pull that argument escape hatch. But it's really important that after an argument that we actually look at how to move forward, not just move on. So before we dive into this week's tip, which is called the Argument Even Better Ifing, we want to first just point you to a couple of resources from past episodes.
I'm just going to say a little bit more about that
Sure.
after component. And we'll dig into this some more, but I just want to set the frame so that you guys are excited about what comes next. In anything that we do in life, we can get better through practice and by consciously reflecting on how things went and then seeing how we can be better next time. We have that amazing capacity as human beings, and we rarely exercise that capacity, especially when in the realm of arguments. It's like, thank God that's over and we won't go there again, or we'll totally get into it again and fight and fight and fight.
And just do a repeat argument, you
yeah.
know, the one where you're kind of chasing your tail. You're like,
Yeah.
are we doing this again?
Yeah, and one of our phrases is become a fabulous fighter, because you truly can if you keep up-leveling the quality of how you're engaging in argument. We're not ever saying that you shouldn't have fights or argue, but rather you should continually get better at it so that they actually move your relationship forward and closer instead of causing separation and distance.
Yeah, just a couple of weeks ago, a new study came out from Berkeley that said, and this reinforces what John Gottman, he's been doing relationship research for 30, 40 years, what he calls the love lab. But they discovered it's not avoiding arguments. That avoiding arguments is actually not a good thing to do. It's getting good at having the conflict. Sure, you don't want to be bickering and fighting all the time, but avoiding it doesn't help either. You want to get good at it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get good at it.
Awesome.
And in this case, we're going to get good at what to do afterwards. So past episodes, you might just want to look at previous seasons. Season 1, we had Brian Franklin and Jennifer Russell, and that was about turning breakdowns into breakthroughs, which we're going to have. They had some really great tips as well. We've been lucky enough we had them on for both Fights Clean in Season 1, and we had them on for Sex Dirty in Season 2. But for this, they've got some great tips there. And then also in the second season, we had Morgan Dermage and his wife Cher. And this is all about long-lasting arguments. And they had some really great stuff on trust and rebuilding trust.
Yeah.
They did a lot of research on how to rebuild trust. They had a challenge in their relationship, and they had to rebuild, and they did a beautiful job.
Yeah, they realized that there wasn't anything really out there to develop trust, especially if trust had been broken. And some great stuff in both of those episodes. And Sarah, if you could post our TV show library in the chat window, that'd be awesome.
And then finally, just our blogs. And again, you've got this logo here. Anywhere if you go to the Fights Clean, and Sarah, if you put a link to those blogs in the comments. But if you look for that logo, you can find all of our tips for Fights Cleaner together, and then look for that logo, and you can find the one that applies just at the time you need it the most. Okay, so the tip for today. So the tip for today is called Argument Even Better Ifing. And you already heard me mention about don't just move on, you want to move forward. Because often, you know, if you're willing in your relationship, and really that's all it takes. If you want to win in your relationship, just be willing to grow. You don't have to be perfect. You know, Kevin and Devona, you probably have this experience as well. You don't have to be perfect. You're not going to be perfect. And so being committed to being willing to grow and to have it always getting better, as you were saying, Raj, is really what's most fundamental.
So this tool, we actually came up with this in the near past. We were actually in the shower, where it's kind of our conference room sometimes.
Yeah, we call it the Sunder Conference Center. We shower once or twice a day together. It's kind of our.
It's our way to.
Yeah.
And it's a great time to connect. And it's our conference room, too. And so
we created this one in the shower a few weeks ago.
We have a tool in the similar vein for Sex Dirty After, and it's called the Romp Recap, and it's all about up-leveling your sex life.
Yeah, because one day we said, you know, we end every coaching call by saying, on a scale of 1 to 10, how was this call? And if it's not a 10, how could it be even better if? And we were just laying there, we said, what if we did that with our sex life? So if every time we had sex, we said, okay, let's score it. And if it wasn't a 10, how could it be even better?
So then we decided to take the same thing into the realm of arguments, because we do want to get better at that, and it's a key foundation of our work. And so we created the Argument EBI.
Yes, so this is a way of scoring your arguments, and there's really 5 or 6 different questions here. Yeah, because you guys know when an argument is over, you know, you might have gotten past it, but we really want to lean into the lessons. Like, we do not like repeat arguments. In fact, we try to retire. Another tip we've talked about in the past is naming your arguments, so that you're like, oh, that's that one. I see it happening again.
Yeah, it gets you a little bit out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Some of ours are, I can't get a word in edgewise.
We've been working on that.
Because I can talk a lot. We even have little finger symbols we use on each other's leg if we're like at a dinner party. That means I'm being too loud. And then if I want him to talk louder, I go like this. And if I want him to talk more, he's being too quiet, I go like this.
We're going to fix that.
So, you know, you use these tools and refine them, and yeah, you put them into action.
So we were saying, all right, we did this for romp recap. Let's do this for our arguments. So as Raj mentioned, being a fabulous fighter. And as I said, it's not that you want to not fight. It's not the absence of fighting. You want to actually be good at it. Part of being good at fighting is knowing when. So you can see this clock and this caution sign. Just make sure before you use this tip we're about to give you that it actually is after the argument. You might feel like the argument is over, and it's not really over yet, so make sure that you're really done. And what that means is that you're now willing and committed to being forward-focused, as is your partner. And if your partner needs a minute, that's totally fine. In fact, a couple weeks ago we talked about the so-so moment. You want to tell them what that is?
Yeah, well, the so-so moment is when you're starting to get into the, really get into an argument, and it could either go really bad, worse from there, or you could kind of pull out, like eject from the...
It's one of those arguments that, it's so-so, it doesn't feel so good right now. In fact, it doesn't feel good at all. But it could so easily get so much worse if you keep at it. Those arguments when they happen fast, and you're like, how the hell did we get there? Yeah. So we created that tip on telling each other this is a so-so moment. It means I need a little bit more time here.
Yeah, and with regards to this tool of argument even better ifing, you can have this, you can do that process, a couple of hours after the argument if you're kind of out of the emotionalness of it. You can even do it the next day or 2 days later. You don't let it wait too long.
Now, if it was a big argument, though, wait at least 2 hours, and best if you can exercise or do something beforehand, because there's literally every thought you have creates a chemical reaction in your body. When you're driving a car and someone comes too close to you and your skin, feels prickly. Whenever you think I'm thirsty, something happens in your body. When you think I'm gonna wring his neck, a chemical reaction happens in your body. And so it takes about 2 hours to disperse those chemicals. It can happen faster if you exercise and move your body. Going for a walk. That's what we say. I'm going to go for a walk and cool down. Perfect.
And just a little ninja tip for the guys out there. I don't know what it is from a woman's side of things, but guys, if you're anything like me, you can generate a lot of energy inside you when you get upset about something. And we're just expected to hold it all in. And it just sits in there and it festers, and you can't really do a powerful argument EVI if you're still holding on to all this resentment and anger. And so my father-in-law is an expert coach, and he's coaching me to actually pick an exercise that you can do to actually move the energy through your system. I actually did the P90X 30-minute MMX workout the other day. I was sore for about a week after because I went at it so hard, but I moved all that energy through my body.
I have come in before, and he's actually had punching gloves on, just punching in the air. I'm like,
oh my goodness.
Imaginary.
So guys out there, find something that you can hold that energy until there's a safe place for you to release it, and then release it. You'll be much better off. Okay,
so now what do you actually do with this argument, even better ifing? So the dust has settled. And you're asking yourself, how can we do better next time? Right? Even better if. And you may have heard the expression before, measurement makes it meaningful. And in fact, there's a quote, I forget whose quote it is, but this is in business, but we like to apply business principles to relationship and relationship principles to business. But maybe you're familiar with this quote, but if it's not worth measuring, it's not worth doing. They say that in business. And you got to know if something's working or not. And so, again, we're applying some of those to our relationship. So how do we measure it? Well, you want to ask yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, how often does this particular fight happen? Is it over and over and over again? Did you have it 20 minutes ago? Oh, my gosh, it's driving me crazy. A 10 might be, we never have this argument. It's the first time we've ever had that argument. A 0 would be we had it 5 minutes ago. Then how extreme or bad does it get? A 10 would be it's super mild because, again, you're wanting to be a fabulous fighter, so we're looking for that higher score. And, a 0, might be I can't believe we crossed that line. I never thought it would get that bad. Then you want to ask yourself, how long does it last? Oh, is it a 20-minute fight? Or it's been 2 weeks and we're still not reunited and still upset. It could be the actual duration of the argument, or how long it took for you to forgive and return to intimacy. Did you grab my hand? You wanted to say something?
No.
No? Oh, I was looking for the cue. Okay. If you could get the word in edgewise. Okay. And
well, I'll jump in there. Okay. So, the next point is, did you use our tools? So
Did we use our tools?
Did we use our tools, right? The tools are so important. You know, you might kind of be like, tools, mules, whatever, but they help you distinguish the stuff that you get all mucked up about and you can't, like, get out of it.
You know that expression when you're at the end of your rope, tie a knot and hold on? This is what those tools are. It's you're not at the end of the rope. And we sit down once, 3 times a year, and we actually look at what are the tools that we want to master next. So like right now, we've been mastering nonviolent communication by Marshall Rosenberg. And that's based on the idea that there's 7 core human needs. And so we want to be able to communicate and articulate about those needs. So after an argument, we'll actually score ourselves. Did we use that tool? Did we use tools? Or it was like, tools, what tools? Or maybe 5 in between might be, well, we thought of a tool and we tried to use it, but we failed miserably.
Right.
Okay, and then
so
the last two?
The last two, the second to last is, did we learn any lessons? So you want to look at, did we learn anything from that argument, either about yourself or your relationship, and how can we leverage what we learned to improve the next time this fight comes around?
So if you're scoring that, a 10 would be, oh yeah, we sat down, we've named our argument, we've set some goals, you know, and this is what we're going to do. You might even see these last 2 as combined because the last one isn't really a score. It's actually asking yourself, what is it that you're going to commit to? So you declare something specific. So the first 5 are really scoring, and you can actually give yourself an average score. So if you had a fight, you're like, hey, we had a fight, but you know, that was an 8.5. That's not bad. You know, we're getting pretty good at this. As opposed to, oh my gosh, that was a 4. That got really dark for a minute. You know, we want to make sure we can upgrade that one.
And it's really important to pick something that you're going to work on in the next fight, because when you're in the heat of the argument, you're going to completely forget about all this. But if you have that knot in the end of the rope that Gabby was talking about, and what I'm referring to is the tool that you're going to leverage when you're in the heat of that argument next time, it really gives you a lifeline to up-level the argument and have it be a higher score instead of that lower score. Okay.
And finally, because if you've watched the show before, you know we never like to leave you without an action option because, you know, I love saying this over and over and over again, a little intention, attention, and action goes a very long way. So make sure these aren't just aha ideas. You know, we're going to hear some great ideas as well from Kevin and Devona, excuse me. And someone actually written Devora, and I was like, no, it's not Devora, it's Devona, which is such a beautiful name. But so take a look at these action options here. Now, we just went through those questions, so I won't go through them all again. But Sarah, if you'll go ahead and post these into the comments so the action option is clear and visible for people. So that first, again, confirm that the fight is indeed over. Find a relaxing space so you can do some argument even better ifing. Answer those questions and score your argument. And then a bonus is go ahead and set that goal for your next argument so that you can be closer to the fabulous fighter, getting closer to that 10.
Great. Yeah, and also post that that blog link in there too. It goes into depth on this one. So
meaning to Sarah, yes, to Sarah.
Yeah.
Yeah, post the link to the blog. That's our moderator. We're having her give you all those links, so you don't have to type any of these in.
Yeah. So I just wanted to ask you guys what you hear from this whole thing around having arguments lead to greater connection and having some tools to work through them, and what you're saying here about argument EDIs. What do you say?
Yeah, so Raj, one thing that stuck out to me, what you said from the male perspective and, you know, getting all that energy like routed up, and you got to, you know, figure out how to release that and when to release it. So it's funny, we got into a little minor argument last night, and I actually went for a walk last night. I got up, I left, took me about 2 to 3 minutes, came back, and was good to go, and we talked about it, and then we moved forward. So I think that was very, very helpful for us.
Yeah, and I like the tip of the better if during or like after the argument, just being able to have that time to actually think about it and actually address and assess the argument, which I feel like most people don't really do that. I think it's just kind of like, oh, this is an argument, I'm just going to run away from it, or I hate you, I'm just going to put that on the list of things that I resent you for. But I think that's really valuable and kind of connects to the point that we're going to make about being understanding and openly communicating about it, just being able to assess that.
Yeah.
Great.
I think what's weird is, and something that's really stuck out for us, is Hollywood and the movies and like the TV shows, the books, even everything you see when it comes to relationships. It's like hide how you feel from your significant other. And for us, what has really been like the glue and cornerstone for our relationship in the past 10 years was like that communication piece and being extremely transparent and open and not really holding anything back. So that has been huge from us. And it's funny because even when we're like watching these movies or just seeing what's going on, we're like, come on, you gotta tell them. It makes
Especially
them
like,
What's going on?
yeah, just tell them. And I don't know. I think that's how people mess up because they end up, believing what they see, and that's what they end up going with.
Yeah, it's amazing. In addition to that, people are expected to somehow both know how to be in relationship. We never taught any of these things, and also there's been this societal sort of norm that if you're arguing and fighting and things are challenging, then it's the wrong relationship.
Yeah, you shouldn't be together.
Like that, it should. If you're with the right person, then it should be easy.
Right.
like
It shouldn't be this hard, right? I'm sure you.
relationship.
What's that?
What did you say?
No, I was just saying having this perfect relationship that
Right.
everyone dreams about, which doesn't necessarily exist.
Which is why I like to say the problem isn't the problem. The problem is you think the problem is the problem. The problem is actually the path. Because that very thing, my girlfriend Sasha, she calls it your mess is your message. That very thing that's causing the friction between you is the, I'm not saying let's just get past that and then bring something else nice in. I'm saying use that friction to be the very thing that brings you together. Because I love what you said about being really transparent. My auntie once told me, intimacy is into me you see. Intimacy. And so if you don't share what's really going on for you, you have a break in intimacy. And then often if you can't be fully transparent, if you can't be authentic, then what happens is you actually don't feel worthy of love because you feel like a fraud, because you haven't shown them all of you. So yeah, they love me, but they love me what they know.
Yeah.
If they really knew, then we'd be in trouble.
Absolutely.
And every time you drop that guard and you share something really vulnerable and your beloved is there to meet you there and hear it, it builds this deep trust that translates into all of your interactions.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head right there. That's what it's all about. Yeah.
Beautiful. So shall we jump into your tips? We'll show the slide here.
We're talking about this one right now, openly communicating and not holding anything back.
I'm
Although,
not showing the
you're not showing the slide yet. I can see it, but you can't. So Raj will pull that up there. Guess who's the tech genius in the family?
Cool. So, talking to the space to cool down. This is something that Devonna loves to do.
Yeah.
I actually
He's growing on it.
I am. I did it last night. Like I took my walk for a little bit. I cooled down. But Devonna, she's the main one who sticks to this one. You want to talk to her?
Yeah. So for me, Kevin being a very passionate individual, especially during arguments, can really get me fired up. So, and I think this relates to a lot of the people that are watching this, is that, you get so fired up and you get stuck in your own thoughts, and you might say all these horrible thoughts and things about the other person, either out loud or to yourself, and you say things that you might regret, or that you think things that you do regret. And it's really important to have that time where you can kind of step aside, and like how you were saying, just kind of like assessing, how you guys handle it, or how and why you feel the way you feel, and just kind of assessing the whole situation. Because if I don't get that space, then I'm just building up on top of what's already going on inside my mind. So that's Kevin was originally the type of person that was just like, no, we just need to get it over with now. Like, we had the argument, let's just get this figured out. But it's like, no, like, I don't like this argument. I need my space for a second so I can clearly, we can clearly close the argument and see how we can move on and actually solve the problem so we don't have those repeat arguments.
Yeah.
Right.
And you just spoke to a key piece. Sorry there, Kevin, when you say something, I don't want to cut you off there.
Oh no, go ahead, Gabby.
Okay. Well, you were talking about a key piece there about, usually in a relationship, there's one person who is the one who feels engulfed, right? They're like, oh, this is too much. And there's another that feels abandoned. Don't leave. We have to resolve this now. If you love me, we'd resolve it.
Get off.
Laughter recognition. You're not alone. I'm the abandoned one. I'm like, we have to resolve this now. And Raj, I'm like, I need a minute.
Gabby will be like, how long? It's actually a good question.
I just went online last week and I was researching heart-shaped timers. So when he tells me how long he needs,
How long?
give him a heart-shaped timer, and when the bell goes off, it's time to be done with the upset.
I love it.
He'll be like, are you ready? Are you done? Can we come back now?
It's been 30 minutes.
I really have had to learn because, I've lost my mind before, not in a long time, but, and just really you have to remember that you're not upset at what you think you're upset about. You're upset about from some story you told yourself when you were 4 or 5 years old that this feels really familiar.
Yeah, and actually your relationship is designed to bring those things up because you really want to heal them so that you can be a more whole, complete, fully expressed person. And so there's a lot of charge can be there.
Now, speaking of the charge, you were talking about cooling down. What else do you guys do to cool down?
One thing that helps out too is kind of stepping outside of your body and thinking outside in and just seeing how, like, literally taking a step outside and seeing, like, what's going on and why is it happening. And sometimes for me, before we even get to that breaking point, like, I'm already self-aware of, like, what just happened and is it even worth it kind of thing,
Yeah,
too.
especially when it's reaching that tipping point. When you start feeling like it's getting to where, like, it's going to be a complete explosion, that's, like, the moment, like, you should really do whatever
Explosion?
Yeah. That's the moment you should do whatever it takes to step outside of your mind and be like, is it going to be worth it if I take that extra step forward or actually light that explosion on fire? So
Yeah.
Well, I really like what you're pointing to, though, is it's that gap between the initial reaction and the action that you take. And as much as so many people try to say that there's no space between there, and your lower brain, your amygdala, your fight or flight is a much stronger, much more utilized tool than our frontal lobe. The front of the brain is where empathy and conscience and consequences come from. So, like, if you yell at a teenager, what were you thinking? It's like yelling at a baby, use your words.
Right.
So knowing that and knowing about brain science that amygdala fight or flight is going to take over, I'm always trying to build my muscle between the reaction and the action, whether it's a half a second or a minute, as much as you can have to slow it down and think about what's really the best thing to do with this right now.
Yeah, totally.
That self-awareness piece is huge, and it's been helpful for me a lot. So
Yeah, one of
the. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, no, I just like how you said that. That's something that you try to work on and make stronger and, like, build that muscle, because I feel like in a lot of people in different relationships, when it comes to that turning point, people don't like to become vulnerable, even if it's with their significant other, to where, like, they want to take that step back. They just feel like they have too much pride to take the step back, and they just want to go ahead and tip overboard and yell or do whatever it is that's that big explosion, so to speak. So I like that you said that you like to build that muscle, because I feel like a lot of people might see that as a weakness.
yeah.
It takes a tremendous amount of strength.
And practice, really, just like anything else. It's practice, and you get better at it and better at it and better at it.
And you develop these different go-to strategies, like you're going for the walk, Kevin, or whatever it is that allows you to separate that reaction from the thing that happened. And my stepdad said to me once that, when you're communicating something to somebody around something that you want, normally we don't actually take enough time to figure out how to say it in a way that's going to get what we want.
we just say it just to get it off our chest.
And it usually doesn't lead to what we want. And we do truly have that capacity, but you can't do it when you're triggered.
Right.
So the space that you're talking about is really important. Yeah.
Well said.
Okay, good. So let's we'll show your deck again. Your slide.
Yeah, well, we've talked a little bit about communicating openly and not holding anything back. Although sometimes I really do have to hold back, but it's not the communication. And in fact, someone once said to us, if it's not love, if it's not coming from love, it's not actually communication.
Mm.
Yeah,
Whoa.
I like that.
Yeah.
But tell us, how do you communicate when there's something important and intense to say, and so you don't want to hold it back? You want to, that intimacy is into me, you see, and Devona, you talked about vulnerability, because really there is no love without vulnerability, because again, they haven't seen the true side of you.
Yeah.
So what else? How do you communicate without holding back, but without the emotional vomit? I feel so much better.
Right?
Now they're a mess.
I think, I mean, for us, I think us being together and growing up together from a young age has helped us, learn how to communicate with one another. I mean, ever since we were younger, like I was 15 turning 16, he was 17 at the time, so we were babies pretty much. And I mean, we literally grew together and grew up as communicators, so to speak. And I think we've just always had this open line of communication, especially him, where it's better just to get it out. We've learned early on where, like, if you just keep whatever is bothering you inside of you, it's not going to do anything but make it worse, and it's going to make it even harder down the road to actually open up and say something. You might even say something worse because it's just all of this buildup, whereas if you address it right when you're feeling a certain way, or you need to talk about something or work something out, then the problem can be fixed on a lighter and easier level.
Yeah, and I mean, even speaking to that, I mean, as you know, us being business partners together, just imagine, the communication levels and how well you have to communicate in order to, do business together. I mean, doing life and love and all that kind of stuff together through communication, like that takes a lot of energy. But I mean, you have to really get to it as well to be able to go into business and, go into partnership with your spouse or your significant other. So.
It really is amazing. It's amazing how challenging it is to work with your partner for the most part. I mean, it requires a lot of growth and development. I don't know why that is. It seems to bring up every little thing that is challenging for you to deal with.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
But so at least for us, I know not a lot of the people out there may or may not, work together, not as common, but it has taught us a lot in terms of being really motivated to resolve things, because we talked about when an argument is over, a lot of people just want to move on. But when you work together, and there's work to be done, it's not like you're like, well, I'm just going to go to work, and you work together. And in fact, Raj knows, and this is the tool for solving arguments with us, that I don't work when we fight.
She does.
It's a rule. I'm like, I'm not a hypocrite. I will not write about relationship after the fight. I can write a blog on what we did and how we got through it. Use it for great inspiration. I won't hide it, but I will. All work comes to a screeching halt when we're upset. So it's a great motivation to resolve it, because he knows we won't move forward until we actually move forward.
Yeah. You want to be productive, you better not fight.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said, if you want to be productive and get things done, you better not fight.
Yeah, or fight and move through it, right?
Fight fast, fight fabulously.
Yeah. There you go.
And while we're talking in the context of working together, this applies to just being in relationship with your partner, because essentially you're in partnership around like a business called your life.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if you have the same frame of like, we don't move on just being pissed off and irritated with each other, but rather we focus on moving forward, like Abby's saying, it just creates a really powerful context for your relationship to keep getting better.
Well, the metaphor that we hear about, is when people say you sweep something under the rug, right? You're like, okay, it's under the rug. But pretty soon you've got a big mound in the center of your rug that you keep tripping over and over and over again, but you're really falling hard because you haven't done anything about it.
Right.
So So let's look at your be understanding one. I love that. I love that.
So
Yes.
The be understanding piece really comes down to, we're all human, we're individuals, right? When we come together as one. But it's important to realize that it's okay to agree to have your own voice and have your own thoughts. So if I feel a certain way and then Devonna feels a certain way, we just agree to feel that certain way. And you're not specifically wrong.
Like
for
agreeing to disagree, I
Yeah,
should say.
absolutely. Like you're not wrong because you feel that way. You're just different, or you have a different way of
Yeah.
thinking.
It's actually, understanding and listening, being or willing to listen to your partner and be understanding and try to see what, like, where they're coming from and why they feel that way and how you can accommodate that and kind of make this a win-win for both of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that win-win, right? That's the real piece there.
Gotta
Yeah, and
compromise.
I don't know if you know the goddess Kuan Yin, but she is the goddess of wisdom and compassion. And I created this mantra for myself to remind myself when I'm not feeling so compassionate is it is wise to be compassionate. Because one, we've all been there, and in difficult times, we all need compassion. We've all lashed out when we were hungry or tired or cranky or whatever it is. And when someone else is being that way, if we can, maintain that wisdom by being compassionate, not only is it, great for them, but it's actually great for you. And it's certainly for the relationships, because again, you're building trust that your partner doesn't have to have it all together all the time, and they can have a bad day. And you're, like we called it putting on the Teflon suit and holding the trash can. So like when you're, when I remember being in college, someone would drink a little much, they might be getting sick. I'm not going, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. I get her a bucket and pull her hair back and get her ponytail over. So can we give that same kindness to our beloveds in an argument? They're having a tough time. They made some bad choices that led them to this emotional vomit. You can either engage in it and go, oh my God, look at this mess all over me, or you can put on your Teflon suit and go, well, we have a new line that we say to each other. We say, do you need some loving?
That's really powerful.
Instead of like, what's wrong with you?
How does that make the other person feel?
What's that?
And so when you say that, how does that make the other person feel?
Oh, it's amazing. Try it. Try it next time when one of you is upset and you're kind of lashing out or, venting on the other person a little bit. The usual reaction is to, get into it with the other person.
You might say, what's your problem? Get off my back, or God, what's got into you?
Right?
You're in a bad mood, which of course, if someone's in a bad mood and you tell them you're in a bad mood, how does that go over?
So in that moment, just try saying, do you need some loving? And it's amazing. It just totally melts the person.
I've been pretty mad, and Raj has said, do you need some loving? And I just can't help but laugh. I just start laughing. And then a few weeks ago, he said, do you need some loving? I said, yes, I need lots and lots of loving.
I don't know if that would work too well for me. Savannah gets mad at me. She gets mad at me sometimes, and I'm always very playful. Like, I'm very playful, and I try to just hit that sweet spot to make her smile or laugh or whatever that is.
It works half the time.
She can be tough, but for the most part, I'm gonna try that one though.
I
That's
would
in my
laugh
toolkit.
at that though.
All right, yeah, we'll see, and I'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
Remember, it's play, right? It's experimentation, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to make that join the Hangout button live now. So if you're in the viewing audience and want to jump on here, just refresh your browser first and then click on the Join the Hangout button. And you can join in here and ask either Kevin or Devonna or Gabby or myself any questions that you'd like on this topic or others. And for joining us live, you also get our Fights Clean Sex Dirty cheat sheet just for jumping on. One of the things I wanted to add to the topic around being understanding, that mostly what people want when they're upset is to be heard. And this is what you're pointing to here, be understanding. And Harville, it's Harville, right? Harville,
Yes.
With the Imago, right?
Yes.
Harville Hendricks and Helen Hunt have this communication tool called the Imago Dialogue. and there's some elements in there that help with the understanding part. And basically, in the Imago dialogue, if you're the listener, what you first want to do is repeat back to the person what it is that you heard them say.
Mirror.
And you don't want to totally parrot, but you also don't want to use words that they didn't use, because people choose specific words because that's what they're feeling.
Right.
And so you just give them back. You say, I hear what you're saying, and you can, da 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 da, and then you can then. So what's it
Validate,
after?
mirror, validate, empathize.
Yeah, so the validate part is really important, because you're telling someone that you can get how they're feeling. It doesn't mean that you agree with them.
Yeah.
People collapse that. Like, you can be understanding without agreeing. We all have different ways of seeing the world, and being able to place yourself in the other person's shoes and be like, I can totally see how you feel that way.
Yeah, there's a tool, a word called differentiation in relationship work, and it's the idea that you are not your partner is not you. You experiencing things differently, you interpret things differently, and once you can accept, when people say, how could he possibly do that? What was he thinking? Well, it's because he's not you, and you're not him, and you don't think the same way. You don't have the same past life experience. So it's going to be very different. But the key about Imago is, it has no requests, no hashing things out, only make sure each person feels heard and validated. And when that happens, it's pretty darn amazing, because often the problem just goes poof, because all people really want is to be heard anyways.
Yes, yeah. I've actually heard that tactic as well. I think we've tried that a couple times, but definitely trying to bring that back in for sure.
Well, and that's the thing as a couple, right? We're always, we're creating these tools all the time, and then we're like bringing new ones in, and we're putting new ones up on the fridge. We're always playing a game. Oh, and great. We see we have a few people who want to ask a couple of questions.
Yeah, and you can either turn your video on if you want, or you can type a question into the comment window on the side of the Hangout if you want to ask a question that way.
Looks like someone's being pinged there.
Okay, one other thing that I wanted to say while we're waiting, if someone wants to come on, just jump right in if you have a question.
I think that's Kevin or Chris.
Yeah.
Has joined in the video, so you're welcome to ask a question. You can either put it in the chat or ask us live. So we'll go ahead and keep on talking until someone jumps in. They've joined us, but I don't know if they have a mic issue or something like that.
Great. So one of the things, when you say openly communicate, right, that second tip that you had, I'm going to share screen again here. Often we don't know how to openly communicate in an effective way. Mm-hmm. And have you guys heard of nonviolent communication by Marshall Rosenberg, NBC?
No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
it's a pretty good one.
Yeah, so this is a great tool.
As you can see here, go back to their formula just 1 second, honey. So it's honest self-expression, like you talked about, like don't hold anything back. Mm-hmm. But with empathy, it's got to be matched with empathy. Raj and I, we have 12 wedding vows. We focus on one a month. And the wedding vow for this month is, I promise to care about your experience and happiness, even when it conflicts with my own. So empathy is like built into our relationship. It's out of integrity for us to win and get our way and have our beloved not have their way and not be happy. So honest expression plus empathy actually equals harmony. You're speaking what's true for you, and you're listening to the person that you care what they have to say, regardless, even if it sounds crazy to you.
I love this little cartoon here.
I know, it's perfect.
Right? Whoops, I wish I hadn't said that. So this tool is really amazing because it gives you a very simple way.
I think that might be Chris. Great is muted, and great. That's fine.
It gives you a very simple way to communicate your feelings in a way that doesn't lead to like a destructive conversation. And it's 4 steps. It's this is the best way to see it. What I observed is, and then you put in
just the facts.
Just the facts.
This is actually the hardest part. Often people think they're stating the facts, and it's really a judgment. Like, you were late again. That's a judgment. That's actually not a fact. It was 6:15 and you said you'd be here at 6. That's a fact. So it's really important. It's just the facts. And then you describe what you're feeling, and this process is they really want you to expand your vocabulary of feelings so you can articulate what's going on for you.
And there's a whole list of feeling words here. It's very small. That helps you articulate what your feelings are, because often we don't have words for our feelings.
Now, there are feelings of when your needs are being met, and there are feelings when your needs are not being met. So understanding what are the core human needs and what are those emotions when your feelings aren't being met just makes it a lot easier to kind of pull apart from all of this argument. And so even if you're too upset in the middle of an argument, Raj is really good at this. So after we've had a fight, but he wants to, create some resolution, but it didn't get resolved, he will go upstairs by himself and he'll write something out and process this, and then he'll come back downstairs and he'll tell me what the 4-step, statement is. I observe this,
Awesome.
I'm feeling this, I need this, and I request this.
That's
Yeah.
really good.
So for the audience out there, check out nonviolent communication. These basic steps are pretty prolific online. You can find them pretty much anywhere with these lists. And whether you use it to communicate in the immediate with your partner, or you take some time out to get yourself sorted out and then come to your partner after having done that work, things just go phenomenally well.
Yeah, if it's a big challenge you're having, I recommend the 1-2 punch, so to speak, of the Imago dialogue and then the nonviolent communication. Because in the Imago dialogue, it's just about listening and being heard. And so you can both relax after you've had everything heard and given back to you, and the person has heard you. In fact, Raj and I came up with a little song and dance to make sure. Did I get it? Is there more? Did I get it? Is there more? So you make sure you get everything. Not just they told you the top level. You get all of it. Yeah. And then after you do the Imago dialogue and you've heard everything and you've given it back, then you do the nonviolent communication, because that one goes as far as to make a request. So if you want to actually get through to another side and have a specific outcome that you want, that's a good tool.
Awesome.
Yeah, so there's a lot of depth in these 2 points that you guys brought up today. The communicate openly and be understanding.
Love it.
A lot
Thanks for
to
sharing
process.
that. Thank you.
And cooling down. This is like a good
That's a good
combo.
trio.
A good combo.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we only have a bit of time left. Do you want to check and see if Kevin and or Chris there who've come on, if they want to ask a question?
Sure.
Um,
Yeah, just if we'll be quiet for a moment if there's anything, but don't feel pressured.
and perhaps maybe they just
Yeah.
came on but they didn't have a
Yeah,
question
it's
to
great
ask.
to
That's
have
fine
you.
too. Just because we see you, we want to make sure if you do have a question, you get it answered. But by no means we don't want to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
So go ahead, raise your hand or put something in the comments if you would like us to unmute you so you'd ask that question.
Yeah, and Kevin and Devon, anything else that you want to say about the 3 tips that you brought up, or the conversation that ensued from that?
Or anything that you're up
Anything
to
else?
next that you want people to know about. They can see here on the screen. We've got your URL here with striveandgrind.com, but anything you'd like to share with us.
No pressure. Put us on the spot. Guess it's bad for me to say I don't really have much.
Well, for me, at least on the points of the points that we had suggested and the tips that we suggested, I know a lot of people come to us and ask us, like, how do we do it? Or, how do you guys work together? What's that like? They sound so surprised. But if you are somebody who wants to work in business together, it's totally possible. It might not seem possible right now if you're going through that moment, but if you apply all these tips and strategies and you are committed to making it work, I think that was something that really helped us last 10 years, is just being committed to the relationship and not giving up on it, doing whatever it takes to make it work. Try different things out and see how you can make things work between the two of you. No relationship is the same. So I think if you actually, apply these strategies or twist it around to make it accommodate your relationship, I think everything will work out.
And I love what the both of you are doing, and like making it fun and games and all that good stuff. We don't do enough of that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, nobody does, right? We all need
Yeah,
to
like,
playing some more.
yeah, there's like no handbook, or maybe I haven't seen it, but for mainstream, there's no handbook to say, okay, it's time to play. and like this is what you're supposed to do kind of thing. So Devonna and I, we're definitely going to take things a step further after this conversation and add a lot more fun and games and excitement into
Oh, I love that.
our relationship. So.
And Devonna, I love what you said too about commitment, because there's a phrase one of my mentors used to say all the time: commitment creates method. You don't have to know how you're going to do something. You just have to be committed that you are going to do it. And when Raj and I, when we got married, I really was blown away at how different married from dating was. In that when we were dating, we get in a fight, I'd say, I don't need this shit. Like looking over my shoulder, I'm like, I don't need this. And now it's like, this is our shit. What are we going to do about it?
Together.
How are we going to make it better? Because it's not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. And that's just a different, I actually really feel for couples that are always questioning their relationship. And so for those of you that are out there, you know, certainly we want you to be safe, we want you to be happy, and you've got to trust yourself. And just there are too many times that good couples let go of their relationships too soon because, one, they expect it to be easier, and two, every time they have a problem, they're looking over their shoulder like, maybe this should be the exit.
Yeah, it's a tough way to be in a
And actually, for some, it doesn't even have to do with being married, because you can get married and they still think, you know, there's a lot of people that think of marriage as a 4-year renewable contract. You know?
That's true.
We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Great.
Oh,
So
good. Raj has your page up here. We want to show people your beautiful work.
Your site here, and anything that you want to say about that to our audience, about the work that you're doing.
Oh, thanks. So yeah, this is our website, and as I said before, we're a branding agency, and we're all about helping entrepreneurs and small business owners achieve their freedom. And you know, that is whatever it is that they want it to be, and why they became an entrepreneur in the first place. And we realized that there's a lot of Me Too businesses out there, and once you understand the concepts of branding and you see how it can benefit your business and really push you in your own lane, so you're not so worried about, you know, going after the piece of the pie that everyone else is going after, then you'll be able to separate yourself and have that brand with soul. And you know, you're going to have those dream customers and clients knocking at your door wanting to work and do business with you. So yeah.
And you guys do great work. All your website just looks so beautiful. Well, thanks for being here and for this topic, and to all of the audience listening as well. You know, next week is going to be the final episode of the season, and this time we'll be diving into the topic of how to keep the sex dirty after. So remember when we talked about the romp recap and what to do after sex to make sure that you're having what we call the best ever sexy time? It's a commitment we have, that we have the best sex we've ever had at least every 90 days. This whole cliche that it gets worse and worse and worse over time, and then pretty soon you're like roommates. We're not buying into that at all. We're like, hey, we should be getting better and better and better at this, learning more about each other, right? It's totally backwards when people think this gets harder, not easier. So we're going to have Larry Michael and his beloved Jennifer joining us, and we're going to be talking about how to take that post-orgasmic energy, that good times and goodwill, and really put that into your relationship so you keep getting closer and closer. And the topic is called Orgasm Doesn't Equal Over.
Yeah, if you want to learn how to have the best sex in your marriage or your partnership, even 10 years into it, you don't want to miss this episode.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. And you're also not going to want to miss, we have some free gifts for you tonight for those of you who've joined the show. We have our Relationship Reset Kit, which is a 4-part mini email with 4 of our top tips, including one of my favorites, the Hot and Bothered Backseat Driver. And it also includes our guidebook, our 16-page guidebook with a couple dozen, I think at least, maybe 2 dozen of our tips on how to keep the fights clean and the sex dirty. Plus, you will get access to all of our past live episodes of the show. So you can snap that up. Sarah, if you put that link in the comments for anyone who loves those free goodies. And then on top of that,
on Thursday this week and also Tuesday next week,
so that's tomorrow
at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, we're leading our free webinar called How to Keep the Fights Clean and the Sex Dirty, and the number one reason relationship fail and what you can do about it.
And really this is all about turning complaint and conflict into connection and contentment, right? So all of that tension, the bad kind of tension, we want to turn that into the spicy, good kind of tension, right? so that you could be a fabulous fighter, be turned on by your partner in life again, and find out what is that number one reason. You know, it's one that impacts all relationships, whether you're challenged right now or you're just starting out and you're having a great relationship. Make sure that you know what this one challenge is so that it doesn't become a silent killer in your relationship.
And if you come and join us on that webinar and stay to the end, we're going to give you our $27 ebook for free. It's an awesome ebook with all of our top tips and tools and laid out beautifully.
And they're laid out in a way that you can find the ones that are easiest for you. Now, if you're completely ready to dive in, and we have our 6-week course that starts on Thursday the 25th, and that is really, we're going to walk you through what the webinar does in an hour and a little overview, giving you a little taste. We're going to walk you through personally, in depth, over a 6-week course. They are recorded. You can go ahead and jump into that one and turn all of your conflict and complaints into some contentment and connection.
Just saying that, it's like, oh.
I know, just the word contentment and connection.
Yeah.
And interesting, when we talked about the core human needs earlier tonight, there's 7 core human needs, and there's many words underneath those human needs to describe them. Connection is the one that has the most words. There's almost as many words to describe the feeling of connection than there are for all the other human needs combined. So we have this great need for connection. So if you're not feeling that in your life, in your relationship, then join us on the webinar and jump on into the 6-week course.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Kevin and Devana.
And all of our viewers as well.
Yeah,
we really are committed. You have a playful, peaceful, and passionate relationship. Lately, I've been calling it a healthy, happy, and hot relationship. I love my little alliterations. Make it play wherever I can. But we want people to know it's possible. It takes something, and it's not just a linear thing. It's up and down and challenges and round, and like anything else, a skill that we learn, we get better at it the more we practice it. So let's not have this be work by waiting until it's a big problem, but let's make this into little bits of effort. A little bit of intention, attention, and action can go a very long way.
Thanks for joining us tonight, and
Thanks,
thanks
Gabby.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much,
guys.
you guys. You're just such an awesome couple. Look forward to seeing you again in person soon.
Absolutely.
Same here. Bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.